Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Alicia and Cody. I have been wanting to get into reading more. I normally am a big reader, but I wanted to do a book review, but then I realized I read a ton of books, and so instead of doing a bunch of separate little reviews, I thought that I would do all the reviews together. So this is kind of my June reading. The first thing I read that I really love is not actually a book. It's a magazine. I've been getting it at Barnes and Noble. I don't know if they are the ones that make it, but it's called O Reader and it's for the love of reading. So it's for people that love reading. And what I like about it is that the articles aren't very long. They're normally a page or two, and I've really been enjoying this, and I think it comes out every season. Then the first book I read, don't mind, it's been a long time since I've had it. It's called In the Praise of Walking by Sean O'Mara. And I'm not really sure what he does for a living, but it was all about walking. And I think his main point was that, first of all, humans develop to walk versus like apes. That's kind of what separates us from other animals that we're similar to, is that we actually walk on 2 feet. And then he talks about the actual mechanics of walking. He talks about how walking gave us the ability. The first humans were born in what is now the Middle East, and how we spread out through the globe via walking and eventually boat. And then he also talks a lot about designable cities and making them walking friendly. And so I think that's kind of his main point, is walkable cities is really good for people. And then he also does talk about the physical and mental benefits of walking. If I had to give this book a 6, I would give it a 6 out of 10. It's okay. It's also based, I believe he's from Ireland, and so that's not an issue at all. Obviously, I like to read books from everywhere, but it's just some of the spelling of the words is interesting to me. Like, they spell organized different than we spell it, and so that was something I noticed. The second book I read was Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pills, and I really enjoyed this book a lot. Pretty much all the studies on fasting and a lot of medical studies, like medication studies, have only been done on men, and then they'll start studying women and realize that, oh, we metabolize things different, or we can't fast like a man fast. And this is all about fasting around your cycle as a female. And she also addresses if you don't have a cycle or if you're in menopause, how to fast. And I just love the way that she explains things and explains the benefits and the tips and tricks. And she has a lot of recipes in here as well. And starting in August, I'm going to start fasting using her, she calls it just the 30-day fasting reset. And then she goes into more detailed fast depending on your goals. Like if it's depression, if you're having memory loss, if you need to lose weight. She details more fasting plans, such as like a 48-hour dopamine fast within a month. And then, so I'm going to start that plan and in August, and basically days 1 through 4 is intermittent fasting of 13 hours. Day 5, intermittent fasting for 15 hours. So that means you don't eat for 15 hours. 6 through 10 is 17 hours of fasting. And then days 11 through 15 is intermittent fasting for 13 hours. 16 through 19 is 15 hours. And then 20 through 30, which is the week leading up to your period, is no fasting. And she goes into why you don't need to be fasting that week. The third book I read was, I reread The Great Gatsby. I read it in junior high, and I've kind of been wanting to go back through some of the classics and reread them. Like I remember reading Walden, and from my memory, I hated it. I didn't really understand what he was saying, and that's because I realize now it was like stream of conscious. So I'm going to reread some of the classics. I wanted to start with this. I'm kind of surprised they let us read it in 8th grade, given that there's murder, suicide, binge drinking, cheating, affairs. I just went to a public school, but the one thing I remember was that there was a lot of money, and the book was overall kind of about the shallowness of people. I enjoyed it reading it the second time. Then I watched the movie, the one with Leo DiCaprio in it, kind of after I watched this, or after I read this, and it's from 2013, and I didn't realize how much of the movie would be just a screen behind them. Like most of the movie, I don't think took place really except for on a screen, and then they added things in the background. But I don't want to give too much away. It's definitely a love story, and it doesn't end in the way that you would think it would end. But I forgot that Jay Gatsby, the main character, he's not the one actually navigating, or I'm sorry, not navigating, narrating the book. It's his next door neighbor that's narrating it. The movie's a little bit different in the sense that the narrator seems to be institutionalized in a mental facility, and he's telling his doctor this story, and his doctor's like, write it out if you can't say it. That doesn't happen in the book. I understand though why they did that in the movie, because they needed a reason for the narrator to be telling his story, and so it kind of like sets up the movie. This was not very long, so I would recommend this. If you haven't reread it since high school, I definitely think that, you know, I'm 38, so I read this well over 25 years ago, and to reread it now, I get more from it. The 5th book I read was called Your Future Self by Hale Hersfield. He's a professor. He was at Stanford. He was at University of Chicago. I think he's at UCLA. But anywho, it's about kind of how it's hard for us to picture our future self. And there was some stories in there about people who had done big life changes. Like one was a serial murderer, and now he's calm and peaceful, and he got let out of jail early. I would give this a 6 out of 10. If you don't like books where they talk about a lot of studies that happen, like he reviews a lot of studies, then you might not enjoy this book. Also, I think the most interesting point was that when they used IA or Photoshop to make people look older than they were, and then they had them put money into their retirement accounts. Those that saw the picture of themselves as an elderly person saved more money than those that didn't, because they would like log into their accounts and see the photo. And so I thought that was really interesting. And I actually did get on the app and make myself look older. And so it's very hard for us to picture our future self and to make wise decisions for our future selves. And so that's kind of what this story is about. So if you're trying to make a change, this might be a good book for you. The next book I read was called An Influencer's World by Caroline Baker and Dawn Baker. This was really interesting. It's called A Behind the Scenes Look at Social Media Influencers and Creators. They had a lot of different interviews with different people that most of them were popular on TikTok or Instagram, but there was some YouTubers and people popular on the other social media sites that I don't really know. But it was interesting. I didn't necessarily read it because I want to be an influencer by any means. I just wanted to see sort of the business of it, and some of the stresses of it could be like you're always looking for approval, or you're always having to look a certain way, or your paycheck is dependent upon people's approval of you, and how that can mentally kind of take a toll on somebody. And then the biggest tip is, if you do want to be an influencer, is being consistent. You need to be very consistent when it comes to posting. And then the last book I read this month was Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. She is the author of Believe It, and she started It Cosmetics. And so this was obviously about self-worth. I would say this is a 6 or 7 out of 10. Some of it was honestly a little cheesy for me. I would give it a 6 or a 7. I think it's good to read if you need to read something about self-worth. And I loved that she designed the cover to be really beautiful, and sort of like you want to display it. And if you display it this way around your house or your bookshelf, or whether you display it this way around your house, it's supposed to be a reminder. Like, seeing the word is like a reminder that you're worthy of love, worthy of self-respect. She shared some stories that she hasn't really shared with others, even some in her family. So I appreciated that vulnerability. I thought, just being honest, because that's the only way I know how to be, she really, really talked about Oprah a lot, which I was like, okay. But what I love about her in her books is she gives back a lot. Everything that she made from this book goes back into charity, and along with her first book. So if you didn't know, L'Oreal bought her cosmetic company, and she got a lot of rejections because she was the model and real life people were the model. She has rosacea, and so she finally got a yes on QVC, and she stood barefaced on QVC and showed how the makeup covered her rosacea, and she wanted to use real women with real skin issues that we all struggle with, and she got a lot of no's. And then her products sold out on QVC, and so finally some of the big beauty brands or big companies, Sephora, Ulta, started, suddenly wanting to work with her. But it was, it's okay. I'm just kind of laughing because Ellen DeGeneres wrote a review of this book, or a recommendation, and now she's kind of canceled for some of her behavior towards people behind the scenes. And then my current read is Let Them. I have it right here next to me. So this is what I'm currently reading, so I'll let you know about that. But yeah, I just wanted to jump on here for those of you who also love books and do some reviews. Hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.